Would you like to know who are the most powerful families in the world? In this video we will show you who are the families with the most control on the planet. Their separate fortunes add up to much more than the money of the 10 wealthiest people in the world. These families make up the world's elite, and are above the largest companies. Many of its investments are focused on global banks. And they are responsible for decision-making in many economies, since they financially control entire countries. Discover with us how they managed to position themselves in the cusp of the world elite.
Grow, investing.
The first family we will name are the Rothschilds, of Jewish and German origin. Headed by Mayer Emschel Rothschild, who was born in Germany in a Jewish colony. He was an important banker in a family made up of merchants, who also had currency exchange houses. By 1769 Mr. Mayer was already a respected banker in society. It is said that several of his clients belonged to the royalty of that time. The family's empire began when Mayer placed his 5 children in charge of the expansion of his bank throughout Europe. For that reason they created a shield as a family symbol, which symbolizes the 5 arrows of their dynasty. By 1818 they were already a family of bankers who controlled much of the European economy, positioning the Rothschilds as a powerful family. With the passage of a few years under the discipline and administration of their children, they managed to become the most powerful family in the world. The second family we will name are the Rockefellers. Placing itself in the second position of powerful families worldwide. Being led by Mr. John Davison Rockefeller, who was born into extreme poverty. He lived a rather lacking childhood, but this forced him to create sales strategies. I barely managed to complete some secondary studies, but began to work as an assistant accountant in a small office. John Rockefeller was characterized by being a young man with a lot of determination towards the future. He tried his best, saving as much money as possible. I start investing it in the stock market. With only 23 years of age, he founds his first crude oil refinery. He managed to expand little by little to buy the refineries of his competition. This gave him the reputation of monopolizing the oil industry in the United States. Many plays did not go as he expected, being forced to place shares of his company to the state. But with the crisis of the 20s in the United States, fate would allow him to buy back the shares he lost. The big difference was that he buys the shares at a very low price, increasing his fortune on a large scale. Is known as the person who achieved the greatest fortune without the help of a wealthy family. The third family we must name are the Morgan. Headed by Mr. John Pierpont Morgan. being a family of powerful bankers, responsible for the economic growth of the United States in the Industrial Revolution. John managed the business inherited by his father, which corresponded to banking. It was also responsible for investing in the railway industry, steel production, and electrical supply. Morgan is known for his ability to manage companies and merge them to work together. By 1871 he partnered to lead his first banking firm, which would become one of the largest banks in the world. John became very influential in the U.S. banking market, forcing the state to create a national bank known as the U.S. Federal Reserve. Morgan had 5 children, who inherited the family fortune, managing it and following in the footsteps of the dynasty. The position for "we must grant it to the Ford family" had its origin with its founder Henry Ford. Being a poor boy who grew up on a farm, but demonstrating qualities that would lead him to form an empire. Being very small, I take care of and put together again a pocket watch, making it work perfectly. Henry lost his mother at a very young age, being forced to move to Detroit to work in a ship factory. He continues his career as a mechanic for different companies, including General Electric. Later he became independent and founded his first company, Detroit Automobile Company, designing his first car. But not getting enough capitalist partners, he is forced to close the company, taking his first stumble as an entrepreneur. Was dedicated to creating models of cars to register them in Detroit races, and thus attract the attention of investors. This strategy served him well, managing to found Ford Motor Company. Revolutionizes the market by manufacturing conventional vehicles for ordinary people, increasing production levels. It also revolutionizes the industry, creating a series production system that allowed to lower costs and increase efficiency. This prompted him to be one of the most successful men in the world. He was also given the task of buying all the shares from his partners, remaining as the sole owner of the company. Actively invested in media, printing presses, newspapers, and thus branched out financially. He also became the creator of the largest industrial complex in the world for the time. This project worked with the steel foundry, manufacture of automobiles, boats, and military equipment. His son and future heir dies prematurely, so Henry could not leave him the legacy of the company. Seeing as the only heir his grandson Henry Ford II. The position number 5 we must grant to the DuPont family. Led by Pierre Samuel DuPont, was a French businessman and economist, who came to the United States fleeing the French Revolution. Being influential in the powder industry, which was in high demand at that time. Over the years his grandchildren venture into industrial sectors related to chemistry, automotive and weapons manufacturing for the First and Second World Wars. DuPont companies now cover many economic sectors, among which are electronics, safety, engineering, construction, lubricants, energy, oil, gas, water purification, among others. These 5 families named above are responsible for directly influencing the world economies, dominating the financial market through private banking. These families are rumored to make up the so-called world order, which controls the medical, food, and energy industry, accusing them of being the cause of global problems such as pandemic diseases, economic crises. They are said to influence the transport system worldwide, forcing the consumption of crude oil to sustain their monopolies. It should be noted that no government is a match for these families, since it is simply controlled by world power for a long time. We thank you all for following our channel, inviting you to subscribe, and continuing to grow together in our financial education.
Grow. Investing.